My Own Business Challenge curriculum and program, and group youth programs that teach entrepreneurship and financial education. 10 cents of every dollar earned is reinvested into the community saved through the Youth College Scholarships. For more information, please go to www.youthfulsavings.com. Email at info@youthfulsavings.com or call 646-504-7164. The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to We Are the People with Tracy Marks and Jorge Estamba, who ask you to know what's happening with your student loan. Tracy and Jorge keep a deep look at student loans in this country and the industries that surround it. Every week, We Are the People will bring you new insight into the corporate welfare industry, such as bailouts, and they connect with student loans. The show will highlight on your constitutional rights and how the current system is built to infringe upon them. Join the conversation by visiting our website chat room at wearethepeople.tv. Or call the show at 888-565-1470 and let us hear from you. And now, let's tune in to Tracy and Jorge for this week's discussion.
Well, I'm not Tracy, and I'm not Jorge. I'm Rick Strahl. Tracy and Jorge are off this week doing their own projects and working on some things for future programs. Right? If you want to call in tonight, our call-in number is 888-565-1470. Lots to talk about. If Tracy, I believe, has told you my story, no thanks to the VA, I am back from the dead. Unfortunately, they've got another crack coming up at me. But we'll talk a little bit about that later. Lots of interesting stuff going on, especially in the student loan world. The first thing I want to talk about a little bit is H.R. 449. H.R. 449. It's called the Discharge Student Loans in Bankruptcy Act of 2015. And the bill introduced by John Delaney, representative in Congress. All right. He's a Democrat from Maryland. All right. He introduced this on January 21st. So it's a brand new bill. There's not much on it. There's not much to be said about it because there's not much in the bill at this point. But as we go through the process, I'm sure that we're going to see things added and things changed, if it's allowed to go through the process. Essentially what it's doing is restoring the rights that we're taking away from students and student borrowers to discharge their debts, their loans, in bankruptcy. That's a right that any consumer has in any other area of the economy. But it was taken away by Congress, by people that paid good money for their representation. All right, so the fat cats did some stuff. So if you can give your congressman a call or email them or text them or write them to support this bill, to support this cause, to support this issue, to allow student loan debt to be discharged in bankruptcy, that's a start. That's a start to getting back the rights that were taken from student borrowers. Okay? So that's real important. Now, this does nothing, to take the debt away from people, but at least they can discharge it when it becomes too onerous and they can't do anything with it. All right? So please, write your congressman, call your congressman, get in touch with your congressman and let them know H.R. 449 and follow it. See what gets added to it. See what changes are going to be made. We're going to try and track it, and we're going to try and get our local congressman to look at it and to deal with it and to sponsor it. As of yet, no sponsors on the bill. Okay. A number of different other things going on as we speak. There is a Protect the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Right? So we have a Financial Protection Bureau at the federal level. Right? Senator Jeff Markey has a move-on petition. So look for move-on positions. All right? And what he wants to do is have you sign that petition so that Congress will see that we need to protect that bureau. Why? Because that's the middle class's first line of defense against big banks and other unfair financial practices that may be committed in the economy. Right? Obviously, the big bankers and Wall Street, they'd like to get rid of all these things. They'd like to take us for a ride or take us for a longer ride. Okay? So we have some protection. Not a whole lot, but a little. Okay? They deal with mortgages, student loans, credit card debt, and other financial instruments that we, the people, have to use as we're doing business to get funding for the things that we need. Okay? So we want to protect the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and make sure, that it is a robust organization that really has the teeth and the ability to do something to help us as against people that are in the trade that may know more than we do, or that may have had the ability to have laws passed that put them in a more favorable position than we are in. Okay? So check out that MoveOn.org petition. Protect the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Right? Because that's an important organization, an important agency, something that's on our side, or we hope it's on our side. But at least it's a glimmer of hope that we have at the federal level. Okay? Again, our call line is 888-565-1470. Yeah, so feel free to call in if you've got something to talk about or discuss. I know we got some cold weather for our northern listeners and viewers. Nice snow coming. Welcome to winter. Right? Now, I've been looking at some things, and we've got some lawmakers, a couple of lawmakers that have decided to try to stop the Social Security Administration from seizing taxpayer refunds. Right? This is from the Senior Americans Association. If you haven't seen it, look it up on the internet, senioramericanassociation.com. Right? Lawmakers team up to stop Social Security Administration from seizing taxpayer refunds. Student loans, old debts that you didn't even know you had, but somebody in your family or somebody with your family name or somebody with some connection decades ago, things that you may not even know about. And people have been taken by the federal government. The Treasury has not given them their tax returns, their refunds. Right? They've taken their refunds to pay off these old debts. Right? Not fair, not right. Used to be that these things could live only for 10 years. The law changed. Right? So Senator Barbara Boxer from California and Representative Vern Buchanan, Republican from Florida, right, have teamed up to put this bill into both houses of Congress. Right? I don't see a bill number on it yet. I tried to check today, and I didn't see it there. Right? But this is an opportunity here. January 22nd is the date of the article. So, again, it's a very recent thing. Right? So call your members of Congress or write to your members of Congress. Right? We don't have a petition up yet, but something that can be very important to save your refunds. Now, I don't know if you know this, but if you're on Social Security, maybe you're on disability, maybe you've retired, right? Maybe you're a dependent and you have Social Security income coming in, the federal government may be able to take that from you even though that's all you've got to live on. They may be able to take that from you because there's an old outstanding debt someplace or there's student debt that hasn't been paid. Okay? Now, last week's show that discussed the ability to get out of default and to put yourself in a positive position as far as debt. But if you're on a fixed income, especially a small fixed income, that may not be possible. If you have a disability, you may be able to have some or all of that debt discharged. So put yourself in a good position. Do the best that you can to put yourself in a good position, right? To prevent them from garnishing your wages, or to prevent them from taking your tax refunds, or from taking government payments that you otherwise are entitled to. Right? Very important, especially for folks that are retirees, right, to look into these things, or getting near to retirement, to look into these things, to make sure that that income stream that they're expecting to have, that you're expecting to have, right, is able to work for you, that you're actually able to receive it. Let's prevent the federal government from taking that money from you. Right? So check that out. I was interested because of looking in the Senior Americans Association, which I just mentioned. They don't know that I'm talking about them, but in doing some research, I found some of these things out. They're talking about securing access via excellence for Medicare Home Health Act. Okay. Medicare has, for quite some time, paid for some home health care. That helps keep seniors, that helps keep disabled people in their homes. A better place than institutional situations for them to live in. Well, the administration has now proposed a 14% payment cut to home health care providers. What is that going to do to people on fixed incomes, to people that are disabled or retired? Is that going to force them out of their homes and into institutions? Yeah. We've got a war on the elderly that's going on in this country. Under the Affordable Care Act, almost $1 trillion was taken out of Medicare, which serves the elderly, which serves retirees, which serves the disabled, and put into Medicaid, which is oriented towards younger people, towards people that are workers, towards people that have economic value in the society, or potentially have economic value. Right? Some people in the administration have talked about supporting the elderly until they get to be 75. Well, many of us know people that are elderly that are in their 90s. There are some that are living to be older. Right? One of the hallmarks of our society, especially over the last 40 or 50 years, has been the fact that we support, that we take care of our elderly, our seniors. These are not gifts. These are not entitlements per se. These are things that we've paid into. If you take a look at your paycheck, if you take a look at the reconciliation, you're paying all kinds of taxes. The same thing with unemployment insurance. It is insurance. And you pay a percentage, and your employer pays a percentage. Well, that percentage, that 7% that your employer pays for unemployment, really is 7% that you could be earning more. So you're really paying that whole 14% for unemployment insurance. And they're going to give you 26 weeks. You've paid for that for how many years? I paid into the system for decades. Yeah. And they cut you off after 26 weeks or 52 weeks or whatever that number happens to be in terms of time. Right? Is that right? How many years have I paid in? Why shouldn't I get the benefit of what I paid for over that period of time? Well, here we get the same situation with Medicare. We pay a tax. There is a tax throughout our working lives. And most of us pay into the system. Why is it considered welfare? Why is it considered almost a gift? It's not a gift. It's something we paid for. It's something that we bought. It is insurance. And here the administration has proposed a 14% cut to home health care providers. This is important stuff. This is stuff that can keep people in their homes. Right? tell your member of Congress to vote yes on H.R. 5110. H.R. 5110. It's the Securing Access via Excellence. The acronym is SAVE for Medicare Home Health Act. All right. So take a look at that. Look it up on the Senior American Association website, right, if you want to do that, and contact your member of Congress. In fact, they've actually got an action thing on the website too. So take a look at it, read it. Hopefully you'll agree with it. It's fairly straightforward. It's fairly simple. You know, we never know what's going to happen to these bills once they go through the markup and amendment process. All kinds of funny things get attached to them. But hopefully this stays as a good bill. And maybe you can ask your congressman or your senators to make sure that this stays as a clean bill. You know, all these bills we'd like to have is clean bills that focus on one issue and don't add all kinds of gunk and junk and garbage to it, especially stuff that nullifies, you know, the title, that nullifies the intent of the bill. Okay? So take a look at that. Check it out. See what you think, you know, that you want to do with it. But we need to take action. All right? We are the people. We're students for liberty. We're more than just students for liberty. We're the people for liberty. All right? The government wants to take our liberty. The government wants to dictate to us, and the more we allow the government to regulate, and then the more that we allow people that influence the government to have their way so that they can make more money off of us, the less liberty we have. What is liberty? Liberty is the ability of each of us as individuals to do the things, to live our lives the way we wish to live our lives, to make our own decisions, to make our own choices, to make our way in the world. And that's what the founders wanted for us to have. They founded this country, and they tried to give us a minimum of government, a minimum of regulation, just the things that we needed to have in order to survive as a nation and to thrive as a nation. And over 235 years, of course, Congresses and attorneys and lobbyists have done their best to take this from us, to get control of us. It's important for us to get control, to get that control back. And the more control that the government has, the less control we have. Okay? Oh, here we got a big oops. You've probably heard the front page stories, especially through the AP, about how 2014 was the hottest year ever. Not true. Take a look at an organization called Climate Depot, because they've done research on this. And the Climate Depot, which are climate scientists, right, actually forced AP to recant their story. And entirely up and down the line. Of course, you know, the retractions are on, you know, page 20, you know, buried deep. Right? So you hear and you remember the above the line page 1 story, but you don't remember or you don't see the retraction. Well, there's a retraction. You know, maybe it was a hot year. Well, it turns out we're on a climate plateau, and we have been for the last 14 years. We're talking about variations in the hundredths of degree. Right? Satellite data, there's no variation at all. There's been no variation at all. Right? Thermometer data in the hundredths of degrees. And we don't even know. That's within, you know, within the range of accuracy. Right? Within the range of error on these things. So there's a chance it could have been a hot year, but probably not. And they've had to recant as a result of that. Right? But check out Climate Depot. Interesting place. Okay. Interesting information. A bunch of recent articles that they've had. Bill Nye talking on MSNBC, blaming climate change for blizzards. We've had this switch from global warming, which is how all this stuff has been sold to us about CO2 emissions being a problem and about supposed man-made climate change. Well, not so fast. Yeah. There was a recent vote in Congress, right, and to an amendment regarding the matter of climate change being significantly caused by human activity. Well, a lot of people, half the Congress said no, not significant. And they're correct. There are many forces in nature. The most effective thing that the Congress could do to prevent climate change is to vote to put a thermostat on the sun, because it is the variations in the solar power that we receive from the sun that cause the majority of change on the earth. And then you've got seismic activity, volcanoes, right? Other processes of the earth, natural processes. We have this idea that man is not a part of nature. Well, there's an argument about that. Yeah, if man is not a part of nature, what is nature and what is man? Yeah. So a lot of interesting philosophical arguments that we need to deal with and that we need to look at and that we need to think about before we take action. We've got this whole war on coal. Well, who is the war on coal on? Right? The corporations, they'll adjust. They'll find something else to sell us. Yeah. But coal is responsible in great measure, especially up in the north of the country, for keeping us warm, for getting us most of our power. And this war on coal, what is it going to do? It's going to add to the cost. It's going to add to the price of energy. And who is that going to affect? We hear a lot of talk about disadvantaged people, about lower class people. We've been hearing lots of talk about middle class. A lot of the State of the Union was focused on the middle class. Well, where is the government going to go when it needs money, when it wants money? It's going to raise taxes. It's going to raise taxes on the middle class, and it's going to raise taxes on businesses that sell to the middle class. Right? Corporations, they don't pay taxes. They pass those taxes on to us. We pay the taxes. The consumer pays the taxes. Right? A lot of stuff going on here that you've got to keep your eye on the ball. A lot of sleight of hand, of misdirection. Now, here's another issue. This is the Global Trade Watch, and they're asking us to take action. They want us to email our representatives to oppose Fast Track. We're talking about Trans-Pacific Partnership trade agreement. These trade agreements, what they've done is they basically shifted the playing field away from our national businesses, American businesses. And instead of having a level playing field, they've tilted the playing field. Our cost of doing business is a lot higher than most other countries in the world because we've institutionalized, we put into our law our values. Clean air, clean water, wage an hour, 40-hour work week. Oh, wait a second, Obamacare is taking most of that away. No child labor, safe products, safe workplace, pension. Anybody have a pension anymore? Not if you're not in a union. Most people don't have a pension. Or you're in upper management and you have a golden parachute. Right? No, you're on your own. They switched from pension. The federal government switched from pension, right, to stock market, 401ks, and that type of stuff. Right? So you got to be careful with that. Be aware of what's going on here. These trade deals, these free trade deals, so-called free trade, allow manufacturers to manufacture in poorer countries where they have lower standards of living. Right? And these places don't care China doesn't care about the air. They don't care about the water and whether it's clean or not. They care about their growth and their development. These other countries don't necessarily care about the environment. So these free trade agreements are really attacks not only on our own industry and business, but they're attacks on the environment. We may get cheaper goods as a result because these goods can come across the border without being tariffed, and they don't have to address our values. The way that we can influence the world to be cleaner, right, to take care of the environment, to take care of the people, to raise the standard of living, is to maintain our American values and to tariff these countries and their goods when they reach the border if they don't match up with our values. So think about that. All right, our time, I think, is just about gone. We'll see you next week. Please contact your congressmen, your senators, and let them know that you care about these issues. Rick Strahl for We Are the People.
Everybody had to pay and pay.
You have been listening to We Are the People with social advocates Tracy Marks and Jorge Estamba, who every week bring to the light the needs and changes in our current system. Tune in every Monday night at 7 p.m. on wearethepeople.tv and participate in the conversation in the chat room or call 888-565-1470. Tune in next Monday for more information and facts. And Tracy and Jorge remind you to stay aware of your surroundings and challenges at all times.